rebel comes screaming, we always holler back to 'em.
I wanted to remind you that mark your calendar for July the 22nd or July the 29th. Glenn Beck is hosting the live simulcast at the Regal Coldwater Crossing Cinemas, and it is about Common Core, and it is entitled We Will Not Conform. I think tickets are going to be hard to come by. The price of the ticket is $18, and according to the theater, it's in a small theater seating only like 224 people. So if you're interested, call the theater. Okay. I decided that, I didn't decide this, we were talking at a steering committee meeting that I have a passion in my heart, a deep, deep passion in my heart, that we somehow have to find a way to engage our culture. We have to find a way to do this. And I commend and I applaud, and I think it's absolutely marvelous that we are engaged in our culture very actively in helping candidates be identified, helping candidates run for offices, and so on and so forth. But there's a part, in my estimation, there's a part of the culture that I think that we need to more actively engage. And so for the next couple of months, just to give you an awareness, Judge Davis is going to be kind of our kickoff, because my goal is to try to engage us in the culture of the family, in the culture of single moms, in the culture of the legal system, and to try and expose you to people within our community that are engaged in that battle. And we'll start it with Judge Davis tonight. And next month, we have got 3 people who will be coming to talk to us. Kayvon Daly, who is the Executive Director of Friends of Bethany. Dr. Jeannie Zaire, who is with the Allen County United Way, and she is involved in their education, and Jeannie is an educator. And I have invited Senator Cruz to come, and we will be talking about these issues in more depth. Also, at a recent meeting, at our steering committee meeting, we came up with an idea that we would have at each one of our meetings something that we would call a We the People moment. Now, We the People connects to our TV program. And so this is our We the People moment. And what we have thought is that a good We the People moment would be to connect with the 5,000-year leap. If you have not read it, my suggestion is get it and read it, because it contains the 28 principles, a lot of which the 9/12 groups, Tea Party groups, and so on and so forth were founded upon. And I want to read to you principle for our We the People moment. This is the 26th principle. The core unit which determines the strength of any society is the family. Therefore, the government should foster and protect its integrity. The family-centered culture which developed in America was not the austere pattern developed in England or the promiscuous pattern that had characterized France. Listen to the words of Alex de Tocqueville when he compared the American family with that of Europe. Listen to these following words. There is certainly no country in the world where the tie of the family is more respected than in America, or where conjugal happiness is more highly or more worthily appreciated. In Europe, almost all the disturbances of society arise from the irregularities of domestic life. To despise the natural bonds and the legitimate pleasure of home is to contract a taste for excesses, a restlessness of heart, and a fluctuating desires. Agitated by the tumultuous passions that frequently disturb his dwelling, the European is galled by the obedience which the legislative powers of the state exact. But when the American retires from the turmoil of public life to the bosom of his family, he finds in it the image of order and of peace. There his pleasures are simple and natural. His joys are innocent and calm. And as he finds that an orderly life is the surest path to happiness, he accustoms himself easily to moderate his opinions as well as his tastes, while the European endeavors to forget his domestic troubles by agitating society. The American derives from his own home that love of order which he afterwards carries with him into public affairs. Now, I realize that our country has grown and it has changed from the time of Alex de Tocqueville, which was 1830, to today. Now I want to read you something else. This is a column from the Indianapolis Star last Sunday by Matthew Tully. I'm only going to read part of it. Go to the Star and read it. But you've just heard what de Tocqueville said, now let me tell you what Matthew Tully said about now, 2014. It's entitled, Helping Teen Inmates Find Peace. There's nothing youthful in spirit about the maximum security juvenile correction facility here. It sits across from an adult penitentiary and a set of railroad tracks along a rural highway. The prison is surrounded by razor wire fences, and the teenage boys inside, in many cases, committed the types of brutal crimes that send men away for decades or even life. Some of the teenagers will move across the street or to another adult prison to finish their sentences once they turn 18. But most of the 151 who now spend their days and their nights within these fences will return to their hometowns within months or a few years, their futures uncertain and their paths clouded by violence, destruction, and dysfunction. Mental health problems and severe learning disabilities are rampant. Most of the kids, she said, when you hear their stories, they're talking to the warden of the prison, their stories will make you stop breathing. But something here I wanted to make you aware of. Within that prison is an organization called the Peace Learning Center. So I went and I thought, okay, what is the Peace Learning Center? And this is what the Peace Learning Center is trying to help these kids. We try to help the kids find peace. Now, what the heck? To say that Judge Davis has a unique perspective on our culture is an understatement. Judge Wendy Davis, mother, wife, grew up in Allen County, She received her bachelor's degree from Wheaton College in Illinois and her JD from Valparaiso University School of Law. She was a partner in the law firm of Beckman Lawson, and she worked as a part-time felony deputy prosecutor for Allen County. And in 2010, she was elected to the bench, and I am proud to say we worked for her. My husband and I did. Her term ends in 2016. She was, at the beginning of this year, she was appointed as the Chief Justice of the Allen County Superior Court Criminal Division, where she was elected to that position by her peers, which I would assume has to be a great honor. Judge Davis has also been involved with United Way's Live United program, and in addition, she is an active participant in the Youth for Christ's Urban Task Force. What caught my attention was Judge Davis a few months ago wrote an article that appeared in the Journal Gazette, and among other things, something she said in that article, I stopped and my mouth kind of dropped open. She said, "Many people coming through her courtroom cannot read the signs on the wall." That literally boggles my mind. We spend thousands and thousands of dollars to educate people. Why can they not read the signs on the wall? What has happened? And what can we do? So please help me in welcoming to our podium Allen County Superior Court Judge Wendy Davis.
Usually people in my courtroom have no problem listening to what I have to say. Oh, okay. Well, many of you in the room, I see lots of friends, lots of friendly faces. My good friend Jim Posey, who is here as well, who's running for judge right now. This is truly an honor to be here. And when Judy called me, I have to be really honest, okay? Because I do have 3 children, and I'm in that phase of life that I'm in the thick of it, if you know what I mean by that. So I have everything organized on the home front. I have a driver. She's now 17, so that's good. And my husband's teed up for the night, so I think I'm okay. But what I was going to tell you is that I'm starting, and I appreciate it, but I'm starting to get asked to speak more and more, not only around our county, but even around the state. And I'm starting to say no a little bit more, not because I'm not passionate about the issues I'm here on tonight, but mainly because my obligations in your courthouse, in your branch of government, especially now that I'm the chief judge, as well as my obligations with my family, and I thought this was a good way to start off today, are really those 2 obligations in and of themselves. I barely get enough sleep as it is. So I want you to know that when I was asked by Judy to come and speak to you tonight, and knowing some of the people that are involved in this organization, I want you to know I pick and choose. And so it's a pleasure for me to be here. And it's a pleasure also for me to be here to talk on some of the issues I've been asked to talk on about. I knew that Judy had seen that article in the newspaper, and I wanted to read, and I did my homework, some more statistics, and then I want to get into exactly why I'm here tonight. The reality here in Allen County, now keep in mind the statistics that I'm about to give you, these are not worldwide, these are right here. When I hear Judy talking about getting engaged in the community, without a doubt, your engagement is so necessary to push the boulder up a hill, as I say, when I see the violence in our community. And just so you know, before I get into this, in our court system in Indiana, okay, I'm a state court judge. What we do is in Indiana, there's what we call weighted caseload. They look around trial court judges. There's approximately 300 plus trial court judges in Indiana. Your criminal division in Allen County, your 3 judges, myself, Judge Gall, and Judge Serbeck, we are ranked in the top 5 of busiest courts and jury trials. okay? Now, some of that, of course, we compete with Marion County, which is Indianapolis. They just happen to have more judges and more resources. But I just want you to understand that some of the issues that we are facing here in our county when you talk about engagement, they're real life issues. I'm sure y'all don't come down to the courthouse and see all the criminals you know that are coming through. But on any given morning, I think this morning it was a jury trial day for me, and I had to hear 26 cases, 26 hearings of felonies. I only do felony offenses prior to a potential jury trial getting started. On Friday, last Friday, I had 48 cases that I presided over. So I'm on the bench every morning at 8:30. I'm never late because I don't let lawyers be late in my courtroom. But at 8:30 I start, and sometimes it is dark outside when I leave the courthouse. So just keep in mind that a lot of the issues that we face, it's not because we don't have good police officers. It's not because we don't have good judges. You have a very good judiciary right now, and you have someone in your audience who I know is running for judge as well, who will be a wonderful asset. But I will tell you, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with what is going on in our community and what's going on in our society. So the reality of it is this, that low-income children are less likely to have parents read to them. We were talking about the article that I wrote. It's true. Oftentimes, individuals come in, they can't even read the documents for them to assist their lawyer. They can't even read what is on the walls of the jail. So the reality is that low-income children, are less likely to have parents read to them. They understand fewer words. They arrive at our schools unprepared. They are less likely to be reading by the 3rd grade. And any of those that know what's going on in our community and what I see on the streets is that if they don't learn to read before 3rd grade, because at 3rd grade then you read to learn, then from 3rd grade on, they struggle in school, they drop out, they're on the streets, they're in a gang, they're in my courtroom. So children who do not read by the 3rd grade are 74% more likely to never catch up. Many of them end up dropping out of school and entering our juvenile system and ultimately the adult criminal system. Those of you who have heard me speak, this is my passion. Once they come to me in the adult system, it's oftentimes too late because you have elected me to take care of this community, right? To make sure that our community is safe. That is my job as a criminal court justice or judge. So I have to delicately balance every single day the decisions I make of safety to my community versus truly rehabilitation, right? Because those of us that are really worried about people and rehabilitation, like what I heard about the juvenile system, you know, these kids go, you call it prison, I call it crime school. We send them off to crime school, then they come back out into our community, they go right back into that atmosphere that they were from. They have nobody to catch them. They have nobody to say, my prodigal son has come home, right? We all know that story. Nobody says that. What do? They come back to a household where maybe their dad's locked up, their mom's doing drugs, or maybe better yet, they've got parents that are working double shifts and never home. They come back. They don't know how to read. They don't even know how to live a pro-social lifestyle. You know, what do you and I do every morning? Well, tonight, we're going to go home, we're going to go to bed at a decent time, we're going to get up in the morning, we're going to shower, we're going to clothe ourselves, we're going to go to work, right? These children, these kids that are getting caught as adults, when I see them in my courtroom at 19, 20, 40, 50 years old, they've never lived a pro-social, what I call pro-social lifestyle a day in their life. And really and truly, I can boil it down to a very easy formula. It really is the breakdown of our family. It's the breakdown of our society. It's the fact that if you don't catch these youth, and I know Jim Posey and I are both very active in Youth for Christ, and he's heard me talk many times, but really and truly, once they become adults, it's really hard to break that chain. Now, don't get me wrong. I am a big advocate of prison ministries. I'm a big advocate of programs within the prison system to help. But again, from where I'm standing, the prison system oftentimes can be just a higher level of crime school. So here they are trying to live a pro-social lifestyle locked up in a prison. It doesn't make any sense. So let me address a couple things about what's going on here in Allen County. Before I do so, And forgive me if I figured this was a good opportunity to kind of introduce you to the judicial branch of government. You know, we've got that big, beautiful courthouse downtown, right? And how many people have been to the courthouse? Oh, this is such a great group. Why did I ask? Of course you know. You're so adversarial. You're such good advocates. You know, in our courthouse here in Allen County, which is a national landmark, by the way, I had to throw that in there, we have 10 judges. All right, we've got 9 Superior Court judges, and we've got 1 Circuit Court judge. And as mentioned, I am the Chief Judge, and so what that means really is that you've got 9 judges, elected judges, all of them are elected, just like all the other, that you need to be aware of what they're doing and how they're doing it. We really do have a talented bench. We have the Civil Division, the Criminal Division, we've got the Family Division when we talk about the juveniles. And I know Jim Posey has been a big advocate of the Juvenile Center as well, and you've been a pro tem out there, and a pro tem means that he'll go and sit on the bench when the judge is gone. So I just wanted you to make sure you're aware that if someone asks you, I bet you everybody in here could say who your legislator is, who your senator is, right? You could probably say federal and state both, right? Who's your federal senator, state senator? Could you name the 10 judges in the judicial branch of government? Shame on the 912 Club. You know, I heard you stand up and talk about judges and judicial system and that kind of thing, and obviously that blesses my heart that you're aware of that, because remember, our branch of government is just as important in administering justice. It's just as important to uphold the Constitution, probably more so, right? And it's just as important for y'all to know your candidates when they end up on the ballot. Now, oftentimes, we don't have an opponent. If we're doing a good job, typically nobody runs against us. And as Judy says, my term is up in 2016, and who knows if I'll have an opponent or not. Sometimes we get opponents because it's a free world, that's our nation, right? Some people want to step out and be a judge, so they may run against me or somebody else. But for the most part, I guess I didn't want you to walk away not knowing that you have 10 judges that take good care of this county, both in civil litigation, juvenile law, and criminal law. All right. So you've been to the courthouse, get to know your judges. All right, I preside over only criminal cases, as Judy said, and I only preside over felony cases. I'm sure y'all know. So if you get a traffic ticket, or you end up, you've got a son or a daughter that may unfortunately get an OWI or something like that, that's done in our misdemeanor section. And our appointed magistrates, we appoint them, they take care of those cases. So the felony cases that I preside over are all up in the big courthouse, we call them, and myself, Judge Gall, and Judge Serbeck all preside over the felony cases. I also, in my courtroom, I'm the judge that hears all the drug cases and all the drug crimes. And I will tell you, we have an epidemic here in Fort Wayne of methamphetamine, of heroin, cocaine. I'm sure many of you, it has not touched your family. It is touching our community, and more so it is touching the lives of our young kids and our youth that are not getting mentored, that are not learning how to read. You know what they do? They go out to the street, they go home, their parents. I'm going to tell you a true life story. 3.5 weeks ago, I sentenced a gal she had 1 prior drug case, felony. So she's considered in my book as, when I start putting on my sentencing hat, she's what we call a nonviolent offender, right? She doesn't hurt anybody in the community. But she was in my courtroom and for sentencing. It was her 2nd possession of cocaine case. So she's possessing enough drugs. She was 19 years old, almost 20. So think about how young that is. I was 17-year-old, so I'm thinking that's 2.5 years older than my oldest. And she sat there, and I've told these stories before, but this one, she sat there and hung her head very low. She didn't look at me. In fact, I'm to a point now where I'm like, raise your head up and look at me. I appointed her a public defender because she could not afford counsel on her own. And for the sentencing, and I can't tell you how often this happens, I say to the public defender, okay, it's your turn to speak, and then the state of Indiana, the prosecutor speaks, and then I review the evidence and I determine the sentence. Well, the public defender, in true form, said, Judge Davis, there's nobody here to speak on her behalf. And I had already known, I had left her mom up about 1.5 years ago. And her father, she doesn't even know where her father is or what happened to her father. So then you dig a little deeper. Okay, I'm going to call her Katie, because I'm not, as you know, I can't comment on ongoing cases. But so then I say, once the public defender makes his argument, the state makes their argument, it's one of the few times I can talk to the offenders. Because I'm getting ready to sentence them. They've already been found guilty, now they're sentencing, and I do all the sentencings. And I said, Katie, do you have anything to say to the court prior to sentencing? And she just, no, Your Honor. And I said, Katie, look at me. I said, where do you live? I said, where have you been living? Well, I stay with my friend so-and-so, and I stay here and I stay there. Katie, how far did you go in school? Well, I made it to the 10th grade. And was your mom there in 10th grade? Because now she's 19 and a half, almost 20. Well, sometimes she was. Sometimes I lived with her boyfriend. I didn't know where she was. And where is your dad? I don't know, Judge Davis. I haven't seen him for 2.5 years. These are the kind of stories that you wonder why our prisons are full, because this is her second felony. So the law that I have to follow tells me that now she's got one prior felony, she has to do mandatory prison time. Mandatory, because it's her second felony. And then I have a wide range of punishment to let her back out and put her on probation, that kind of thing. But you sit and you scratch your head, and I bet you nobody in this room has a child who has ever, have you even known anybody in that situation? I see that every single solitary day, every single day. I tell this story because this is one of my favorites, and I don't want to tell you the blood and guts and gore, because really as a sentencing judge, those of you that hear me speak, it is really a lot easier to make a decision on a murder case or on a rape case. As the decision maker, okay? Because if you're killing people and you're raping people or you're molesting a kid, and I don't mean this flippant, but basically it's how many years am I going to send you to prison, right? I mean, those are the people that prisons are made for. Those are the ones, so those individuals I just carve out when I talk about what's going on in our community, because those individuals unfortunately are a lost cause. I'm telling you about probably 70% of our system, our criminals, 70%, that are teetering on violence. They're not, like this individual, I guarantee you, and I had a sentencing plan for her. So if she does not get help when she comes out from the DOC, she will end up back in my courtroom probably on some other greater charge, trying to defend herself, killing somebody that's trying to rape her on the street. You know what I mean? It just escalates. So what do we do to catch him down here? But before I get there, let me tell you this. So I've told this story multiple. There's one guy, I've been on the bench now 4 years, and there's one individual kid that is just stuck in my mind because I'm following him. An 18-year-old from Wayne High School who brought a gun to school. Now, that is a felony, if you did not know that. You cannot bring a gun to school. And so he was in my courtroom, and he tells me this story. I'm looking at him. Okay, now I have lots of information prior to sentencing. I get a lot of information about their history, their criminal history, so I have done my homework before the sentencing hearing starts. So I knew that this individual at Wayne High School had a 4.0 average, all right, young black man, really handsome. 4.0 average at Wayne High School. He played sports, he was in, I want to say he was in Key Club or some club. This was been a while ago. But anyway, he's standing in my courtroom carrying a gun. And this is the story he told me when I looked at him and said, what are you thinking? You're 18 years old. We don't live in a, United States of America. It's not cowboys and Indians anymore. You don't get to gunsling. What's going on? And he proceeded to testify and tell me that and I actually made some notes so I got it right because it's been a little bit. His little niece was shot in a drive-by. She was 3 years old. She lived. 3 years old, but she got shot in the leg. His brother was